Hi friends, it's Naomi from Sleepy House Healing. If you're new to my work, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm coming to you with your full moon in Pisces collective transmission. We're going to look at some tarot and oracle cards. It's a little bit later than I wanted to create this video, but the cards maybe will explain how a lot of us are feeling. Not that cards are always pointing to feelings, but I will say that, well, yesterday I had planned to put this out, and I pulled the Ten of Swords reversed, and I just knew that I personally was so close to burnout and so overwhelmed, and that is something I'm hearing from a lot of, well, especially my patrons and my friends who are experiencing similar feelings of, you know, just crying and not necessarily knowing why, just feeling at the end of, you know, what's a good way to say it? Not the phrase I wanted to use, but burning the candle at both ends or something is what someone said to me today. It's so true. If you're new, I have ADHD, and I'm a parent, and getting interrupted when I'm doing something is like one of those things that just like, I can't like get back to where I was, right? And so there's a lot of that happening. There's a lot of like people talking all at once around me right now. Other noises kind of like coming in all at once. And this is just my experience as a neurodivergent person. I know that not everybody that's watching this has that sensory, like noise sensitivity stuff. However, I do suspect that other people are nearing burnout and overwhelm. And I guess the big message I just wanted to like open this up with is, if you're sitting here and you're watching this and like, I don't know, it's pretty late, so maybe it's really late by the time you're watching it, like, please drink water. I know. Those reminders can almost annoy me sometimes, but like what I pulled for Pisces in particular, and this is true for everyone, but with Pisces, I got the Two of Pentacles reversed. And I'm just getting that sense again where it's like, maybe there's not really like a need for solutions right now. We have been grinding, trying to figure out like the next path, the next, fix, the next solution, or just working extremely hard. This can also pertain to like our spirituality. I am kind of hearing that to like make sure that I let y'all know that it's not just about work, right? Like Pentacles aren't just about money. They're also about our physical body. So there's this message to find and nourish the balance that we are always kind of trying to find, and being present with ourselves right now. Holding space for our feelings, our emotions, the heavy lifting that we're doing collectively, doesn't mean that we're going to like drop out and not care about the things happening around us. It's just, on a personal level, we all have shit going on. And then we turn on the news, or we witness with our own eyeballs another person being murdered by police, another horrible crime. I mean, at this point, it's like since my last collective reading, there's several names that this could pertain to, and I can't not acknowledge it, but I also have to acknowledge that for sustained change, and I do say this quite a bit, but we also have to nourish ourselves. We have to rest. We have to, tend what is right in front of us, whatever needs our devotion at this time, and then avoiding this burnout, a longer period of having to sit out, because like, it's like when you're playing sports or something and you like, even if you stretched and did everything right, if you're just going too long, you're not hydrating enough, you're going to have to sit out longer than if you had taken breaks. Maybe that metaphor isn't landing. I'm not sure. So especially for people with strong Pisces placements, this is just the card that came forward. This card I pulled yesterday for myself, also in the reverse position. Today I pulled it again for us. So I just get a sense, even if you're not here, maybe the people around you are. So keeping that in mind, when it comes to communication, swords, communication, brain chemistry, all that conditioning, people might be just, their words may be coming from a place of overwhelm and not from how they feel about you. So let's just be extra, I'm not saying let our boundaries down or just let people walk all over you. Of course not. But I am saying that let's try very hard not to take things personally, because it's probably not about you. And even if it is, I feel that it may be I'm sensing that there's there's a lot of temporary irritations arising because people are they're having to pour from empty cups. And so those check-ins and reminders with our close loved ones and our friends that we're communicating with often, hydrate. Have you eaten? Do you need a hug? Holding space for feelings rather than trying to solve and fix things for yourself and with other people, right? Not just jumping into solutions, but being like just available and present. Available and present is the thing a lot of us need. Because even if we're like, again, the whole like solution hamster wheel, there's always going to be another thing to try to fix, even after that, whatever the initial problem is or the next problem. It's just, at this time, I think it's just not. I'm not saying just rest. Be present. Be there for it. Not bypass. Experience the emotion. Accept it. Move it through your body in the best ways that you know how. Normally I'm like all about dancing. I'm like, yeah, dance about it. Just like move it through. I'm too tired, too low energy for that. Moving it through with nourishment, water, bath. I'm definitely getting a sense that may be helpful at this time. So, I had a patron, Jenda. Hey, I know you're going to watch this later. Asking about, and I'm not an astrologer, I'll say that. I say that every time I make one of these and I bring up anything astrology related, but she was asking about, I think Mars is going to be visible later this week, and I could be mistaken, but Mars is in Aries, I think, for the rest of the year, or it's for a while. So, we are in a Pisces full moon, and I might suggest, and I had one of these earlier, a wonderful bath to kind of try to soothe I just feel like, the exposed nerves that we may have, the serious, deep emotional, like, upheaval that may be bubbling up. But Jenda was asking about manifesting and bringing a job forward. And I just wanted to share just this really simple spell. I actually grew up with doing this, I think, with my mom. She didn't call it a spell, but you just get a bay leaf. This is so simple. You just get a bay leaf. I buy mine locally here. You can grow bay as well. This is especially good. I mean, obviously I'm going to say use fresh ingredients if you can, but when you have bay leaves that are a little bit older, that aren't necessarily wonderful in food, in my opinion, they're still great for spell ingredients. And actually, if it's dry, the drier it is, the better for burning. And so I'll take a bay leaf, I'll write that intention, that thing I want to manifest, and I try to be specific. I try to be specific with all my spell workings. Ask for exactly what I want to bring forward for myself. Some people might disagree with that, but for me, that is very helpful, being specific. And so as easily as you can on a bay leaf, writing in what you want to bring to you. I would write like the specific job or the specific company and like envision how that could happen. Just like visualize it and write things in present tense. That's helpful, I think. I feel that way about sigil craft as well, writing things in present tense, which actually the friend that I learned about sigils from told me that. So it wasn't like none of this is like me, right? Like it's just, this is what I do. Anyway, so bay leaves, I just find that there are so many magical properties with the bay leaf, and fire, Mars, it just, to me, it makes sense to do that if you're working, under Mars, or if you're in Aries or Scorpio, and burning it and just visualizing it happening, like it's happening, and you just have to, I find that you must fully believe and intend for that to happen. And then the other thing I was going to say, working with Mars, and I wasn't asked to say this, but I have taken recently, I'm still working through it, but a Mars workshop from Jeff from Cosmic Cousins, and loved it. I am, again, not an astrologer, but his work really resonates with me. So learning a lot more about Mars, and I'm not an Aries. My Mars is in Taurus, I learned, but Mars, from my understanding, has a lot to do with, I know we think of it as like war and fighting and fire, but also sex. And so sex magic came up when I was speaking to my patron Jenda, and I just wanted to, people can really, this can be more complicated, and that's fine. But I just wanted to share this with you, that putting an orgasm behind an intention can kind of, ignite it. So you can do a really fancy ritual. I love doing fancy rituals, don't get me wrong. But if y'all are as tired and just worn the fuck out as I am, sex magic, it might be a good option. Like with the bay leaf, visualizing your intent, the thing you want to bring closer to you, and put your orgasm behind it. Just a thought. You can do this with yourself. When I say sex magic, I don't mean you have to involve another person. Sex with yourself counts. Anyway, so I just wanted to tell you about those since a patron asked. And if you want to find my work on Patreon, I will say that this past month I've been a little less active on Patreon just because, like I said, I'm tired. A lot of stuff going on in my life, just like everyone, it appears. But my most recent post was actually about rituals of release. And so during the Pisces full moon, I'm not going to say it's not a good time for release. It's not a good time. I don't necessarily think that, but while tensions are high, I don't always feel, I'm not doing any magic tonight. I'll just tell you that. I think I'm always doing some sort of personal alchemy. I'm, lighting a candle with an intent to me is magic. But as far as like, I pull cards for myself all the time. I don't want to say it's not magic, but I don't ritualize things during the full moon every time. And this one especially, because I do feel scattered. I do feel activated, just to be really honest. It's why this is so late. It's not late, but it's later than I intended. When I am feeling activated, I am not inclined to create a spell or to do a ritual, because I like to have, you can always tap in and, breathe and try to get some clarity before moving in. And that's fine. If you're available for that, wonderful. I am like this with tarot readings. I can, take some deep breaths, kind of not bypass or set it aside exactly, but I can kind of like turn down the little dial that's like all my personal shit and hold space for another person. But when I am doing magic for myself, which is most of the magic I do, obviously, I don't feel intuitively like it's a great idea to do it while I'm in overwhelm or burnout mode. So that's just me. If you're not there and you are like ready to, manifest or do the ritual of release, that's on my Patreon. It's I believe it's for all patrons, so it's like $1 or higher level. So all my patrons get access to it. And yeah, I just wanted to mention, when I talk about release, we talk about like letting go of fear, letting go of, whatever it is. We say that so much, like, and I don't mean this at anyone. I mean, I do it too, where I'm like, this new moon or this full moon's all about releasing things that don't serve you or letting go. Beautiful, great. How? And it makes it almost sound like it's like a one-time thing, and it's not. It doesn't mean you're not healing or dealing with your shit if it comes back, if you're reminded, if you get triggered. I mean, I feel like I've spent several days being triggered, and maybe I haven't dealt with some things, and that's a distinct possibility. But I think also you can be triggered and taking care of yourself. So letting go is not a one-time event for most of us, most of the time. If it is for you, amazing. Like, tell me your secret. How does that work? But I think a lot of times it's not. So patreon.com/sleepyhousehealing. If you want to view that, again, very simple. I used to, and I still love like more complex rituals when it's with friends or for a really special occasion, like during the eclipse. I actually didn't do a ton of magic, but when there's like an astrological event that's like very exciting and I have a really specific thing I want to put out into the world or bring forward for myself, I'll get elaborate, but here lately it's been quite simple. So just kind of coming back into the reading, I feel like I like got off track, and that's okay. But okay, so the other cards that came forward, I just kind of laid them out before I sat down. So we got the Queen of Wands reversed, and again, coming back to overwhelm. And the Queen of Wands, I think upright, especially, it's like really coming into your power with your intuitive gifts, with your ignition, with your, desires and just creativity. And as a reversal, again, I say this all the time, but in case you're newer here or haven't heard me say it this week, reversals aren't opposites, but I do think that queens get tired. Queens get tired too. Just because you're tired and you're in this burnout state, it doesn't mean that you're like not queening it up, right? You have a lot of responsibilities as a queen. I'm like going too far with my metaphors, but I just get that sense that it's like when you've been burning so long, it makes sense. It makes sense that you get tired. You start losing steam. It doesn't mean your magic is not there or it's turned off. It just means that you like might need to sit down somewhere, as my best friend Lakin would say. That was like one of the meaner things that she could say. So she's so wonderful. She would say like, so-and-so needs to sit down somewhere. And I just love that, because it's like, instead of saying like that person is too much, like whatever, it's okay. If you're the one that needs to sit down somewhere, give yourself a timeout. Being a parent of a young child, like, I need timeout. He doesn't. He's acting age appropriate. Maybe other people are acting appropriate, right? But it's me. I need the timeout. You're still a queen. Okay. Reeling it back in. We have 5 of Pentacles. So, I love the 5s. Love them. Peep my 5s. Okay, little side note, little personal update story. I went today to, pick up some like groceries at a little local place. And it's really close to where I grew up. The place where I really considered to be home. 555 is part of the address. So that's where the 5 comes from. And, in numerology, at least from what I understand, 5s have a lot to do with change, transition, and contraction a lot of times in tarot. It's just part of it. And so I drove by. Not necessarily the healthiest thing to do when you are feeling sad and you know that the home where you grew up, it doesn't exist anymore. It burned down. So I hurt my own feelings driving by, and not to say I regret it or anything, but 5 of Pentacles, like when I think of this card in particular, maybe all the 5s, but especially this one. And even in this depiction from the Apparition Tarot, it's like, here's this person. I think of it as being like without a home. Out in the cold. These little snowflakes. Out in the cold. Away from what's comforting. Not to say there's no comfort available, but I think that once you really lose home, like that one place, if you are privileged enough to have that, because I know some of us do not. Some people can't even locate the place that feels like home to them. Even though mine doesn't exist anymore, I do feel privileged that for, a good first 13 years of my life, I had that base, that rooted place where my heart lives still, really. And then this card kind of, especially just what I'm getting in this moment, it's like so fucking unfair that can be taken. It's so gross that home as a concept, but also like physical housing, is not like guaranteed. I mean, I don't care if you work. It's how some people are like, nobody should work full time and not have enough money to have a home. What if nobody on earth should have to deal with not having home? Comfort's not a right, but I think that safety, some sense of security is. And the more that people have that, the more we have our needs met, the more we can meet other people's needs. And I'm just getting that sense again that like some of us are so divorced from what our needs are because they've been just on the back burner for so long that we can no longer locate what those needs are. We can no longer locate what our dream is. Because, for some of us, like, our dream was a job. And then we realized that, maybe a job shouldn't be our dream. Like, what's our actual dream? Like, what's our actual purpose? If you're there, you're not alone. It's not even that I'm there. It's just that I'm getting that sense again. It's like, are we so, not just overwhelmed, are we so divorced from our needs that we can't even imagine what it would be like to have them fulfilled to where we could actually dream? Ugh. Fuck. Sorry. I took a note over here. Pisces, I think of dreams too. What did I write earlier? I wrote something right when I laid this card down. So, yeah. I do think there is an invitation to look into our dreams, but again, it's like we're not looking for fixes, like I said earlier with our 2 Pentacles reversed. We're not really looking for fixes right now. We're not looking for solutions or the path forward. We're just being present and I think that is going to give us a lot of self-knowledge. There's going to be like some discovery in that. Because I think a lot of us have abandoned our own needs for the greater good, or for capitalism, for our children, for whoever, whatever is calling us to do so in whatever way. And we just have to come back to ourselves, come back to our body, tend what we can in the moment first before we can move on. Yeah. It's kind of like when you're having, if you've ever had like a panic attack and you're like, at least when I get there, it's like I'm thinking about like stuff I should be doing, like for other people or my home. Like, I need to wash the dishes. I can't freak out right now. It's like, no, you need to drink some water and sit down somewhere. That's what I need to do first. And then I can worry about that other shit. Because like, not panicking is probably more important. But yeah, the fives and the pentacles too. It's like, come back to our body, come back to our roots, come back home. This is really home, right? Our spiritual home, right? This is our home. We have other homes too, but maybe you just need that reminder. I do, like all the time. And so whether you can think of a home base in your mind, in your childhood or not, if you're seeing this, you have a body. Whether you love that body or not is none of my business. Like, body neutrality is pretty interesting. I don't love my body all the time, but I fucking appreciate this shit, right? One of my patrons calls it a meat boat. I love my meat boat, okay? It carries me around. And I just gotta nourish it. Treat it like home. That's kind of why I get tattoos. Whether you're into tattoos or not, it's like, you can decorate, but it's also like, you gotta like, tend it in other ways as well. So water keeps coming up because I think I'm just thirsty right now. So I'm gonna get some here in a minute. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. I had no other notes. I wrote down like 3 words and I keep looking at them like there's something else there, but no. I have cards in front of me. So, not to name drop, but again, I'm just really excited about this deck that's coming out. I ordered it with the Kickstarter. Again, like anybody I mention here, it's like just because I love them and I love their work. So Claire from they're Word Witch on Instagram and Patreon, and they have this deck coming out, the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I am so excited. It's just beyond the gender binary is kind of like part of the theme. And today they posted the moon card. And the moon card in that deck, I mean, I wish that's what I could hold up just because I'm so excited. And they posted that today on Instagram. And I believe that we're always a little bit in moon, I could say. It's a full moon. Kind of makes sense why this would come up. But 2020, it's like this card continues to come up and say, hey, and remind us that, really loud car going by. Remind us that we don't really know what's coming around the bend. We're all kind of like navigating in the dark. When you're a kid and it's like, adults, they got this, they're steering the ship. We're good. And then you grow up and you realize that adults were in charge of Titanic, right? Like, adults don't know shit. And even though I'm an adult now, technically, and I definitely don't know shit. I mean, sometimes I do, but you get what I mean. I still get that way sometimes where I'm like, I get in my kid brain of like, the people in charge, like, what are the people in charge doing? It's like, clearly, we've been knowing this, but 2020, if you had any doubt that the people in charge don't know shit, not only do they not know shit, their priorities are whack. And so that's fucking scary. And here we are in the moon, right? The moon is like, yeah, again, it's like kind of inviting us not to just try to like open these doors and like peek. You can't do it anyway. I feel like these bitches are locked. Like, we can't really know what's coming. We never do, but we really don't right now. I feel like normally it's like I have some sense of what might be coming collectively, right? Personally, I don't know. We can think we're secure in so many ways, and it's just, we never really know. So it's again inviting us to be here in this present moment, and I think sit with some discomfort, like, okay? But we can do it. And again, it's like the moon. I'm just coming back to this image where the moon is like this mirror, especially in this version from the Apparition Tarot. Love this deck. Where it's like a mirror. So I think during this time, this month, this moon cycle, until we get to the next full moon, having anchors in other people is, I will say that that's not necessarily bad, but there will be some energy matching happening. So I don't think that this is always the case where it's like you get what you give. But I think right now, as we are navigating this, discomfort and darkness, really paying attention to what we're putting out. Always, but right now especially. And if somebody's giving you some bullshit, you have a choice. I personally do not have the energy to spar with anyone. I don't. I will let you know my boundary at this point in my life when I can. This is maybe what I want to do, right? We can let people know our boundaries, and then we can fuck off about it. Because there are some folks, it's never gonna work. The whole this is my boundary thing, they're not gonna respect it. And that's actually not your problem as long as you can, remove yourself and stick to the boundary. And they're gonna throw a tantrum. That's the thing. I feel like I learned this. I'm having this memory from my social psychology class in college, where it's when you are the person ending a cycle and you're in an abusive situation or in a family structure that's dysfunctional, when you're putting up a boundary with people who do not have them or understand them and find them to be threatening, they throw a fit because they don't have them, right? They don't get it. And so they just think you're being mean. But it's be mean. If there was ever a time where it's okay to be mean, which boundaries aren't mean, but be okay with being perceived as mean. It's kind of like having a fence. You could look at that as negative, oh, it's not a friendly neighbor. I mean, hypothetically, obviously fences are fine, but it's but if it's protecting your home, your yard, this is a terrible metaphor. Boundaries are there to keep us safe. They're not necessarily there to be negotiated or understood by anyone else. That's really what I want to say here, because the reflective quality in this card is just jumping out to me as something I need to point out. So I'm also getting that sense of I always hate when people say this, but here it is, right? When somebody is getting on your last nerve, not necessarily just any old person, but somebody that you love, they're irritating you with behavior, which that happens. But at this time and during this cycle, pay attention to if it is something that you might also be doing or have. Why is that irritating you? I think especially for things that are not violations of your boundaries, but are just unexplainably annoying. Okay? That's a thing, right? The term bitch eating crackers is not a term because of, any reason other than sometimes somebody will get on your nerves so much that they can't do anything right. Paying attention to what that is, what that's about. If somebody's annoying you because they're not communicating or not communicating clearly, think about how you're communicating. Sometimes it can be helpful to put things in writing during that. And just kind of going into that, because Nine of Swords came forward again. I think of Pisces as this like really beautiful, dreamy, watery energy. And then this card kind of like traditionally people think of it as like the nightmare card. I know I've talked about this, here and just in general a lot, because I'm a dream healing guide. And the way I got into it was having sleep paralysis chronically. It's this cycle of like horrible, difficult. I should probably just make a video about that sometime, because I know people go through it, and it's like, obviously this card doesn't always mean this, and I definitely don't think okay. I'm just getting a sense in this case with this card, it's like a cycle. It's like we keep repeating a lesson over and over, expecting different results, and that's what's driving us crazy. Not the best word choice, but that's what's kind of driving us over the edge. The 9 and the 10 of Swords coming here, to me, it's like, I know that staying up late, staring into my phone, not drinking enough water while I'm just working, writing, communicating, talking to people, following leads, grinding on work, whatever. I know logically from all the times I've tried this that it leads to this. It leads to all those swords in my back and being like pinned to the ground and just, right, dead inside for a period of time and having a longer rest period, like needed, I know, we all know from like past experience, whatever it is we're doing, might even be, for some of us, it's like communication with ourselves, but also with people close to us, like in relationships, where it's like, I know following the same formula that I've done so many times, I'll pull it out of the oven and the same thing's going to happen. So like I'm wasting ingredients, but why are we back into it? And I know why. I know why we're back into it. It's just so clear. Four of Cups. We're afraid we're going to miss out. FOMO. I read somewhere, and it's coming forward to me now, that like fear of missing out, it makes so much sense. It's like an egoic thing, right? I don't want to miss out, because what if somebody else has a good time without me? Or what if this one time I use this formula that's inherently flawed, what if this time that I use it, or if I choose not to use it, I'm going to miss out on that exciting person? Or I'm going to miss out on that opportunity, that job, that praise from my employer because I've worked so hard, You're not going to miss it, because the thing is, this formula is inherently flawed. It leads to this every time. In fact, using this formula attracts other people who are repeating the same patterns of behavior that leads to empty cups and it's better to have a missed connection than to connect and then realize like, oh shit, this is not the one. This is not the thing. I don't want to imply that there's one person or one thing. That's not what I'm saying. This ain't it, right? That might be, not the right way to say it either, but it's better to like miss out materially or perceive that we've missed out than to jump and go for it, doing the same damn thing that doesn't work and then having the same result and then landing back here where we land, where we might already be, or maybe it's where we're headed. So like, look at your formula, like have a look at your priorities. It's so easy to get in that habit. Like, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what other people are doing. I get on the dating site. I swipe. Or, I work for, mine is usually about work, but like it comes back to, I sit down, I hyper focus for like 10 hours. I finally come out of it and I'm like starving and grumpy and I like want to yell at everyone, and it's like nobody else's fault. And then I feel the guilt, right? I feel bad about my reaction. So I've done a lot of talking about myself in this in this video, but I hope that some part of it is relatable. I really do. I pulled an oracle card as well for like the medicine of this time. Like, what can we do? What can we do? Okay. We know where we're at. We know where we're at. The invitation is to come back to our bodies. Come back home. The one home that we definitely have. Because even if our body is not a place we love all the time, we live here. Coming back, tending, hydrating, finding what we can in the moment to give us, a breath. And I also pulled from I always say this wrong, river and roots, roots and river. I pulled the card of wildness, which is the wolf and the full moon. Beautiful. Okay, it's a full moon. I know that it's technically now. I've never been a super exact witch with the moon. I am obsessed with it. It's always there. I think of the moon as like just our constant loving companion, though it's technically like moving a little bit away from us as the years go by. Not a lot, but enough that, Anyway, commune with the moon. And this is the invitation that I bring a lot. But I think it's because I get so much out of it. And I know other people do too when they will really take me up on it. Okay? If you're in a place where you can howl at the moon, oh my gosh, please do it. I don't live in a place where I can do that at the moment, but I don't think that this moon is inviting us to perceive, to accept, to soak in any like wisdom, There are times when I look at the moon and it's like talking to me. And maybe that'll happen tonight when I look at it. I'm not sure. You can do this tomorrow night. Honestly, anytime that you're getting this reading, if it's in the future and it's not the Pisces full moon, there's something here for you, I believe. So have a chat with the moon. I think the medicine I'm getting for this time, the wildness, is to, like the wolf in this image, just like give it up to the moon. Give it. Just like let her know, right? If you can holler, like, I'm jealous, please holler. If you can, I feel like you don't have to be out loud about it, but speaking aloud, putting yourself in a place of surrender under this full moon in Pisces, because I do think that in some way we're making space for, the wisdom for those solutions that we all want. It's just not in the cards right now to ruminate on solutions, because we're still in that cycle, that sleep paralysis cycle. So this is the Aquarian Tarot. It's this vintage deck that I just absolutely love. Anyway, I hope this reading finds you well. It's a little bit longer. I did speak about myself quite a bit. If you've made it all the way through, bless you. I hope that you found some medicine here, and also, hang with me on Patreon if you're feeling it. Every month I give away at least one tarot reading to a patron, and now I do it all, for all patrons, even the $1 level. So I would love for you to support me on Patreon if you feel inclined. You can also book a private reading with me. You can check it out at sleepyhousehealing.com. I'm also on Instagram at sleepyhousehealing. What else? Facebook, Sleepy House Tarot. It's a little bit different. But it's just easier, I think, because on Facebook, healing could mean, I don't know. It's just the name I've had. So anyhow, have a great night. And if you are feeling inclined, again, bath, working with water in some way, and giving some of that overwhelm up to the moon. I think just that reminder that the moon, this primordial thing, like, that's been there, just, it's going to be there after we're gone. It's been there way before we were here, and we're just a little like stressed out ant. Sometimes how I see myself. I'm just this little stressed out organism on the back of a much, much larger thing. So it makes me feel like there's a little less pressure. Not that I'm insignificant or not special or whatever, but man, who can deal with the pressure of being special? It's better to just be free, I think. So may you find that freedom, and yeah, have a great night.